Shangeeth Sivan, a passionate programmer from Postmark, who will be sharing their insights on adaptation strategies for Kotlin Multiplatform. If you are looking to streamline your development process across platform, and this is the session for you. I welcome you, sir.
Okay, hey everyone. I'm Shangeeth, by the way. Can you see the slides? I'm not able to see it, but yeah, cool. So, am I loud and clear, everyone? Yes. So, I'm here to talk about. By the way, I'm Shangeeth, and I work as a senior software engineer at a company called Poshmark. It's an e-commerce based company. The product is in the US, and currently, we have around 10 million users or something. But yeah, I work on the Android apps for it. I'm an organizer at Kotlin User Group, co-organizer at Kotlin User Group Chennai as well. So yeah, that's me. So what are we going to look at today, right? So it's Kotlin multi-platform. So how many of you are like Android developers? Raise your hands. Okay. iOS devs? No one iOS. Okay, good. Web developers? Lot of you. Nice. Okay. I'm not a developer at all. Who's that? Okay, sorry. I should have asked this question, but I see some hands. But yeah, that's fine. So again, why are you guys here, right? So anyone to this talk particularly, I'm asking. You want to answer? Hey, this is not a. I'm not a teacher here. You're not a student. We're just here to share knowledge. Please be free. Someone can answer. Why are you guys here? To learn something new. Good. Specifically, why are you guys here for the KMP talk? Future of Kotlin. Nice. Nice. Any other compelling reason for you to come here? Because if you see the whole lineup, or if you see the mobile market space, it's not very exciting out there, right? It's very dull. If you see the whole GDG DevFest Coimbatore agenda itself, there's just one mobile talk, I believe, right? So it's not really that great, and at least as mobile developers, we want to know what's our future going to be or what's happening in the space, right? Again, there are a lot of other reasons as well. I have came up with some reasons for this, right? So again, Kotlin multi-platform is not something new, but then there's React Native, Flutter, and everything else out there. But Kotlin multi-platform, yes, it's something very new, and a lot of companies are very recently trying to adopt it. And one major reason for a lot of people looking at KMP is, I have Android, I have iOS, is KMP suitable for my team, right? That's one major question that's out there. And again, a very recent or exciting thing out there is Google has started supporting Kotlin multi-platform, right? So that's something very exciting, and a lot of companies now want to go behind Kotlin multi-platform and see what are the advantages of it. So we just move on. So again, Google started now supporting KMP. Should we now do it because everything is developed separately, or I'm following Flutter, React Native, and everything? So a big corporation like Google is doing it. Should I do it? Really? So if you see this, this is just an animation here. Google is trying to just jump over the pit there, but it's up to us to make sure that our product, our application is not going into that, right? Going into and falling into that pit. Okay, let's see how KMP will suit our needs, right? And again, so is Google doing multi-platform for the first time? Do you guys know about that? Anyone? Okay, so Google has been working on the multi-platform space over a decade. That's like more than 10 years, right? So they have been doing sharing business logics and everything for over a decade, and it is very unnoticed. And how are they doing it? They were using some tools internal tools called J2CL and J2 Objective-C, and it's not just internal; they've open sourced it. Basically, so J2CL is basically converting Java code to something called as Clojure, right? Clojure is the I believe it is the object-oriented thing in JavaScript, I believe. So that's J2CL, and J2 Objective-C is Java code gets transpiled into Objective-C. Objective-C is something that you use in iOS development, right? So yeah, and again, it's all open source. It's out there in GitHub, and again, it is unnoticed, right? No one has been noticing Google doing multi-platform for a while now. So there are some reasons for Google doing multi-platform over the years. So reasons are more consistency across platforms. So this is something, right? So you have a bug in your app, you want to fix across all the platforms now. So according to a product, it's just a bug out there. So I have my customers on Android, I have my customers on iOS, I have my customers on web. I want to fix a bug. Basically, it might be a business logic that I want to change or anything. All these kind of common things, I don't want to really go in and work on different platforms and have every developer update a lot of things, right? So that's where one place to fix all bugs. And then most of it is like any product that you take, right? They have all the same features across platforms. When I say features across platforms, take an e-commerce app. End of the day, it is just buying a product, selling a product. All these kind of features are there, and they want it similarly to be present across Android, iOS, and web, right? So with large teams, there's one big problem, right? Sorry, 1 second. So with large teams, basically there's something called as platform inconsistency across with large teams. So you develop a feature, or let's say iOS is developing a feature, and then Android. Sometimes there might be Android resources who are not available to develop a feature. All these kind of things happen, and then even take small issues, right? Take tiny behavior changes, like some buttons might have a different animation or different click behaviors on Android and iOS. So yeah, that's all there. So we don't want to have inconsistencies. To avoid that, Google has been doing it. So, and again, avoiding code duplication, right? Native, I mean, the UI part, I agree that Android, iOS, everything is separate. But if you look at business logics and everything, it's all just the same, right? We want to, end of the day, we want to avoid code duplication out there. And I'm not making this up. This is all from a Google talk that happened in Kotlin Conf 2024. You can go and look that up. Okay, so common UI, right? Non-native apps take Flutter, React, and then all these apps. Why do they kill the UX? Anyone out there want to answer this? How many Flutter developers? How many Flutter developers out there? Okay, some of you. Nice. How many React Native? Nice. So, you guys build all your UI in one place, right? Basically, it means that Android follows this material design system, and iOS follows this separate design system. So when you build UI code in the same place, it's not. It becomes a common UI, and then it's not. When a user sees the app, it's not like very native, right? Take any other app in the Android platform, for example. It is not. The user does not feel that it's native out there. People were not able to really tell what was wrong, but then they had some issues around take button clicks or button responsiveness and everything. So maybe Flutter is growing up and things, but yeah, we'll get to more reasons on why KMP is more better than other cross-platform apps out there, right? So again, thoughts on this? Thoughts until now? Cool. So this is what even I was thinking, right? So after seeing all these things like common UI, take for the Flutter developer or React Native developer out there, this might be his whole reaction, right? So yeah, again, looking at KMP might be scary, might be something new, a lot of things happening, but yeah, let's move. Jokes apart, why KMP can succeed in the multi-platform? Let's look at that. So if you look at the Kotlin multi-platform website, right? So it says share code on your terms. That is a very keen thing to understand, right? It's up to you to decide on, as a developer or as a company. It's up to you guys to decide on what suits your team, what you want to share, and then take it business logic, take it view models, take it the presentation layer, the UI, or anything out there, right? So it's up to you guys to decide on what you want to share. So yeah, moving on, I can share code on my terms there, but really, does it suit my team or business? So one beauty thing about KMP is that you're not killing your native code, right? So you have Android app, iOS app still there, and then KMP just runs along with it. We'll see more on that. Again, KMP will suit teams that are looking for maintainability, scalability, and long-term efficiency, right? Because if you think of a product like Google, who's building these apps like Google Workspace, Google Docs, Google Drive, and everything, they are looking for maintainability and scalability, right? As the company grows, you are creating an application. Today, we have platforms like Android, iOS, and then web, right? What if a completely different system comes in? We have, again, augmented reality, virtual reality, all are coming in place. But end of the day, for businesses, your business logic is going to remain the same, and you want to share these kind of core business logics to any platform out there, right? That's what businesses need as well. So yeah, again, having your code shared to any other platform out there is going to help in the end of the day, right? And share code and still be on the competitive edge. When I say competitive edge, right? Flutter developers or React Native developers, I want you guys to answer this. So what about sorry. So what about any new feature that comes out in Android or iOS? How fast do you guys get an update on that? Or how much time does it take? Just be cool. Just answer, no?
It's not very easy to understand.
Sorry, what do you mean by it's not easy to understand?
Not doing the syntax.
No, what I'm saying is, let's say iOS is iOS is releasing a feature where you can interact with dynamic element, right? They just released dynamic element. How fast did you get that API on Flutter or React Native? You had to wait for it, right? Obviously. So because native APIs, these people, iOS or Android, they're just going to tell about it and release it on, let's say, Google I/O or Kotlin, on Apple conference or something, right? That API is going to be available on day one. But for businesses, if you want to have Swiggy released I think they made use of the dynamic island, like in probably 1 week or so after it was released, right? So all these kind of competitive features that you want to get into your product, you might be delayed, right? That's a pain point on Flutter and React Native. Okay, so let's get to some of the common questions that every native dev or any developer out there, any mobile developer out there has, right? So what gets shared? Now I know that, okay, Kotlin multi-platform is there. I want to share network, data, presenters. A lot of things are there in my code, right? What I want to share. Well, let's get to that. And then these are just some questions, but I have 2 repositories now. So most of the Kotlin multi-platform samples, I think Kotlin multi-platform is stable currently, and it's been a year now. But most of the samples that you see out there in GitHub or anywhere, you see that it is a single repository, right? So in a single repository, they have Android, iOS, and everything. But I am working on a product which is already, like, we have been developing the Android app for Poshmark around like 10 years or something. The code base is very huge. That is in a separate repository, and iOS app is in a separate repository. Where does KMP fit now, right? So that is what I was saying. KMP samples are mono repo, and like, now what? Again, when we want to have a mono repo structure out there, we might want to merge teams, right? iOS, Android, every team has to, should they work on a single repository? That is also going to be a big pain, right? Let's get to all that. Again, how to integrate a native library. You have a native library out there. How does that integrate into KMP, right? So we'll also look at that again. Does iOS teams have to learn Kotlin now? Maybe, maybe not. It's up to them to do it. But again, we'll see. So there's one big confusion around this, right? There's Kotlin multi-platform and there's also Compose multi-platform. A lot of people are confused with this. So Kotlin multi-platform helps you share business logics and everything. And Compose multi-platform is a UI framework that's on top of Kotlin multi-platform, where you can even write common UI. You could still go and choose to write native UI using XMLs or Compose in Android, and then you can still write code using Swift or Objective-C, and then have Compose multi-platform also along with it, where you write a common code that is getting shared, right? So let's understand the whole difference out there. So before KMP, every application out there has a different repository, right? iOS has its own layer of UI, presentation, business logics, data, and then all these things are there. Same goes for Android and desktop as well, right? So let's look at how KMP is going to help here, right? So if you look at this image, KMP lies around the shared code space, right? So native code, you guys still write the UI in Android and iOS. That is the view alone. But shared code, when I say shared code, take business logic, you make network calls. All these things are dumped into the KMP module. So then there is Compose multi-platform, right? So Compose multi-platform jumps into and stays on the shared module. So you still have access to your Android, iOS, and desktop repositories, but then Compose multi-platform comes and sits on the shared module. So that's about Compose multi-platform. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. I'll just take this as a no. Okay. So when I say shared code, right? How do you think when I write something on Kotlin? How do you think Android? The Swift code or the Kotlin code? Again, Kotlin is common here, but take JVM. How does take JavaScript, right? The front end apps. How do they understand that? Anyone knows about this? It was a hint. I said it already. Maybe just think of the Google thing that I showed you before, right? What was Google doing? Anyone who answers, I'll give you guys a gift. J2C, yeah, right. So they were using J2CL and J2 Objective-C for basically converting Java code into these, right? So that's called that process is called code transpilation, right? So again, Kotlin multi-platform is also doing code transpilation. Just like J2CL and J2 Objective-C, they're just converting your Kotlin code that you write in your KMP module into class files for JVM, and then into native executables for Swift or Objective-C to understand, right? So that is all there. But then why is suddenly Google moving to KMP now? They had already J2CL and J2 Objective-C, right? Google is moving to KMP because of two reasons is what they said. One is, again, KMP is getting a community now, right? They haven't published J2CL or J2 Objective-C in a level where it is adopted by communities. But then KMP now already has a community where a lot of developers or a lot of companies have started adopting all these already. So that's the reason behind Google moving into the Kotlin multi-platform space. So yeah, let's move on. So the types of repo structures that you have in a KMP project, right? So generally there are two repo structures. One is multi-repo and then one is mono-repo, right? So mono-repo is what we have been discussing right now, or all the samples that you have been seeing on the internet. So you have Android, iOS, everything into the mono-repo. But then there's something called as multi-repo. We'll look at what is that. Sorry, 1 second. So multi-repo is also called as library mode, wherein this is very suitable for teams that are already out there. So you have an Android repo separately, you have an iOS repo separately. Where does KMP fit in, right? KMP comes in as a separate, you can bring in KMP into your project as a separate library, and then you can compile so as previously shown, there are class files for JVM, and then there are native executables for iOS platform, right? So you can basically compile it into a library and then get it delivered to your Android repo or to your iOS repo using Maven, and then or CocoaPods in iOS space, right? So this is completely suitable for existing projects that are really huge. They just want to have some part of their code shared, and maybe take a small feature and just migrate it, right? For anyone who's doing that, the library mode is really going to be helpful. So there are some pros and cons for the library mode out there. So pro is that KMP code is separate, so it's not going to interfere with your native code. So iOS developers or Android developers, they don't have to really worry about the KMP code. Or then if I'm saying this, maybe you can get a question, then who's going to work on KMP, right? Obviously, it is very easy for Android developers to get into the space because they already know Kotlin, and it is easier for them. But then, so for iOS developers, it's going to be hard, right? So there's also a con there. We look at that, but again, easy library delivery, right? So you use something called as Maven or CocoaPods to basically deliver all these libraries as deliverables to your Android space and then to your iOS repos separately. So they just, when I say as deliverables, you just do go to your Gradle file, add it as a dependency, and you're done. And again, CocoaPods, you just go to your, it's called as pod file, I believe, right? So go to your pod file, add that there, and you're done. So as I said before, it's easier for legacy repos to integrate, right? So we have been coding for 10 years, 12 years. We just don't want to mess up with the teams out there or the repos out there. Library mode is going to help you out here. So this is one of the con. Sorry, I should have marked it in red or something. But yeah, so when it comes to library management, right? So Maven or CocoaPods or Swift Package Manager, if you take, it is all public out there, right? If I'm running a company, I don't want my code or my business logic to be out there on the internet, right? Then how do you share all these libraries to your Android and iOS repos? You have to obviously build an internal library management tool where you have to host a server which is going to run Maven or a CocoaPods internal CocoaPods server, and then that is going to help you publish the KMP repo to your internal library manager, and then that is going to be consumed by your Android or iOS repo, right? So then there is frequent library releases, right? So there are a lot of things here. Again, this is all keep on going in. Like you have to, whenever there's a change on the KMP module, you have to have the library consumers, that is your Android repo or iOS repo, or take your desktop app, consume it, right? So you might have to, for any change out there, you have to do a frequent library release. So when I talk this itself, right, testing seems to be hard when it comes to library mode, right? How do I go over it? So you use something called as a local Maven repo, or you just integrate a dummy Android or iOS app with it, and then so you can run a local Maven repo inside your project, and that's going to help you. So then there is mono repo. Sorry, I'm using a lot of fillers. So mono repo, this is suitable for any existing project out there. Sorry, any new project that wants to get into the mobile application space. It is known for wars with the iOS team because they are not really comfortable with looking at Kotlin code and all these things. But it gives you better visibility of code, right? End of the day, it is all in a single repo. Let's say there is an issue. Anyone can look at the Kotlin code and try to understand what is happening. Any tool like ChatGPT or anything is going to help you understand what code is there. Take it Swift or take it Objective-C out there. You just give it this piece of code and it's going to help you learn on what is happening out there, right? End of the day, we're all just programmers. We're just trying to create a product out there. So next, So this is the mono repo folder structure out there. When I say mono repo folder structure, so you guys can see the Android app, iOS app, and then the common main is the place where you write all your shared code, and then you have Android main and iOS main. So there's a lot of things called expect actual mechanism and all. I'm not going too deep into it. But yeah, moving on. Swift interrupt, right? The shard code that's there in Kotlin, which is transpiled to Swift or Objective C, it's not really that great, right? When I say it's not really that great, take interfaces in Kotlin, right? That gets transpiled into something called as protocols in Swift. So and that is very straightforward. There are a lot of other things like take coroutines. Coroutines in Android. So coroutines is a background threading management tool out there that Kotlin gives you. When you want to convert that into Swift or Objective C, that's not really straightforward. There are a lot of things happening. So there are libraries like SKIE. There's a company called Touch Labs working on it. It's all open source. You guys can look at it. So they are helping you to convert Kotlin code into the Swift code in a smoother way, right? So that's there. So again, end of the day, iOS engineers and Android engineers have to work in harmony to get things moving. So if that's not happening, because I'm an Android developer, right? When I was stuck on understanding what is happening or how to export a framework or how to export a dependency to the iOS project, I was stuck. I was just looking at the internet, trying to understand what is a dependency, how do iOS projects consume dependency, and all that's happening. So you guys have to work in harmony and then understand each other, and that's how you can get in KMP. So this is some tiny tips. I'll just rush through it. We're running out of time, I guess. So start small, take a new build. Take a new feature out there and build it on KMP. Pilot it to your team, right? Showcase about KMP, how useful it is, or how companies are adopting it. All these things. You can show it to your team and introduce your team to KMP. Invest time on setting up the internal Maven servers, right? If you're going on the library mode, yes, you need you'll have a pain in talking with your DevOps team in running up an internal Maven server or CocoaBot server. It's all interesting out there. You guys can look at all that, do that. So again, use all the KMP samples out there. And use CI/CD tools like GitHub Actions or Jenkins to automate your library publishing. Let's say I am pushing my library code to GitHub. That library has to be delivered to the Maven repo automatically. Tools like GitHub Actions or Jenkins helps you do that and set up pipelines so that you don't have the hassle of pushing the library manually. So yeah, enough. Where are the samples? So I just tried the KMP app out there. So 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. It's better that I just share this link to you guys later on. Okay, sorry about that. I have to switch a lot of things here. Is it visible? 1 second. Okay, cool. I'll just continue here. I have the links to my project that I tried. That is the library thing. I was confused with a lot of things on how to get a dependency for iOS created and all these things. It was kind of hard for me, but then I was able to pull it out. These are the projects that I have. The projects are really, it's not the greatest sample out there. This was just a playground for me to try out KMP. So don't just follow anything from that. Try to see and how all the setups like Maven repo and all these things are out there. I'll give you guys the link to these slides again. So setups and execution for KMP is going to be like this, right? So so it's going to be very hard. You don't understand iOS projects. You don't understand anything. The thing is, it might be very hard to understand, but it's not impossible, right? Okay, so let's see where a lot of, I mean, how the community is performing, right? There are a hell of a lot of samples out there. These are some samples. So there's view models, right? So view models is in Android. So you can write common view models. When you follow a pattern like MVVM, you just follow, have view models commonly in your KMP code base, and then that is being shared through this library called as KMP view model. I think Kotlin itself is still working on this, but there are a lot of things out there. So you can join or reactivate your Kotlin community, right? How many of you have heard about Kotlin user group Chennai already? Okay, Kotlin user group Coimbatore. There is one Kotlin user group Coimbatore, but it is inactive. I have the link to the GitHub link that was available for me. Maybe you guys can reach out to them, reach out to the organizer, reactivate Kotlin user group Coimbatore as well, right? So a lot of companies are using Kotlin multi-platform already. So companies like McDonald's, Netflix, Forbes. Yeah, 2 minutes. I'm done. 2 minutes. So yeah, companies like Meetup all are using KMP already. I don't know if I can tell this. Okay, I'll not tell the company names. There are a lot of companies in Chennai who has been already working on having integrate KMP into their system. I think when you reach the outskirts of Chennai, there's a big company out there. I'm not just telling the name because there'll be a lot of problems. But then, yeah, that's there. Having KMP experience is going to help you. It's an additional bonus for you to get your next job, right? A lot of companies are opening up jobs that are related to Kotlin multi-platform. So yeah, these are the references that I used. So yeah, it won't be possible for me to take this talk without all these references. That's mostly it. Overall, just think of KMP as a tool that's going to help you facilitate all your development process out there. Don't just think as KMP is going to be a killer to your native platforms, or it's going to be a Flutter or React Native killer, right? So yeah, that's it. Any questions? The link to the slides are available on this QR code. You can also find my socials there. If you have any questions on KMP, just reach out to me. Yeah. Any questions out there? Cool. Cool then. I'll be here for around like 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, just reach out to me. Yeah, thanks. Thanks everyone.